Alright, hello everyone. This is Tiny here with a vintage cube draft. This is pack 1. Right now I'm leaning towards Mock Sapphire just because I think power is shocker powerful. And we're not really giving up on many other cards. We could take things like Watery Grave to have more fixing, but Mock Sapphire kind of on that same mana is good plan. We could take something like Deceiver Exarch to be on a specific combo plan, but I think that's less good than just taking generally good cards to begin with. Towards the middle part of a draft, we can start figuring out an actual plan, but I think we'll just start with the really powerful card. Now, what are we looking for? Glen Elendra, really good in a format where it's defined by its non-creature spells, something that counters non-creature spells while also being a beater, good. Simic Signet, also good. Scalding Tarn, good. But I think we're gonna go with Glen Elendra. I think she's just slightly more powerful than just having good fixing. Alright. Shelldock Isle is quite powerful. Since you play with a 40 card deck, getting your library down to 20 cards is a lot easier than in a constructed format. Steam Vents is also good. Blood Crypt, less good than Steam Vents, but also good to have. Nothing like Memory Jar is good if we wanted to force Storm, but I don't know. I'll wait till a little later in the format to force that. I think I'm going to take Steam Vents because I think fixing is better than Shelldock Isle, though that might be wrong. But we'll go with fixing. When in doubt, try and make your color fixing better. Alright. So, what do we like here? Poundcron is good for a combo style deck. There's plenty of ways to generate infinite mana or infinite storm count with it. Counterspell, also a good card. Kind of what I'm leaning towards right now, since we're not actually in any other colors. You get to counter whatever you want to with this, and it's better than most other cards. Things like Inferno Titan, you can find plenty of big beatdown style cards, whereas Counterspell lets you just make sure that your opponent isn't beating you. Alright. This pack is actually, I don't know, pretty medium. Mox Diamond, I might actually take it, though I think it's my least favorite of the fake Moxen cycle, at least in Cube. Scroll Rack is fine, but if you have no ways to combo with it, it's just like the first activation is good, and then any following activations aren't great. I could take Magus of the Will, hedge against trying out sweet new cards, but none like only Mox Sapphire and Steam Vents points me towards wanting to be in combo, so I think we'll take the Mox Diamond. Alright. Neither of these angels really come across as they're same problem as Inferno Titan. They're big in their win conditions, but we can always just get other big win conditions. And for now, we want to be working on making our deck a cohesive, certain type of plan deck. Not that any of these other cards are really helping with that, is one thing. We could take Spellskite, we could take Thada Adele. Huh. Yeah, we'll stay on color and take Thada Adele. Actually, I could take Baneslayer, but I think I will stay on color. That pick was kind of medium. Now I think I'm going to take Creeping Tar Pit. Not really giving up on much else. Delver Secret's not great and limited. Honestly, one of the cards I would probably take out of the cube if I were designing it. Gitaxian Probe, pretty medium. All these are aggressive cards, and we're not really in a hyper-aggressive deck. Creeping Tar Pit is just a good fixing and a good beater. We could take Lion's Eye Diamond to hedge on being a storm deck. We could take Collective Brutality. It's just instant or sorcery, but you can also like neg2 a creature. Yeah, I think I might actually take Collective Brutality. I'm going to take Ancient Grudge, just because we're not giving up on much else, and it is nice to have ways to interact with artifacts, because artifacts are probably one of the biggest differences in Vintage Cube as opposed to any other cube. We'll take Impulse, lets us find our good cards in our deck and smooth out our draws. Here we're going to take Arid Mesa, lets us find Steam Vent, currently finds blue, red, and white mana, and if we pick up other dual lands, can add on to that. Here we'll take Young Peasy. Yeah, Young Peasy is the type of card that I would take from a Delver deck and play in a Delver-esque deck in Cube. Delver itself, definitely not one of the cards that would make that jump from Cube into or from regular constructed decks into Cube decks. Just because you get to play so many more like Ponder style cards in constructed decks, which is what makes Delver really good, as opposed to just instants and sorceries, which is what makes Young Pyromancer good. Alright, cards in this pack that I like. Azuria's Signet is good, just having more ways to generate mana. Dack Fayden is probably fine, actually. I don't know, I don't think Dack is better than Azuria's Signet, but I think he's good. If we had more mana rocks and were like less creature-based control, Wildfire would be good. Do I like Torrential Gearhulk? I think he wheels more than Azuria's Signet. I just think having like at least 2 or 3 Signets is so good for a blue-based deck. Being able to fight the green decks on the same battle of generating a ton of mana just makes it so much better to play something like that. Plus you get to play cards like Fact or Fiction and not have to worry about the mana cost. And I do think Fact or Fiction is better than like Dark Confidant or Shadow Mage Infiltrator. I do like that they're using the old arts again. Alright, Mana Drain, good card. Show and Tell, less good. Polluted Delta, also good. Yawgmoth's Bargain, not so great in just a blue-based control deck. Is Delta better than Drain? No, I think I'm going to take Drain here. I think it's just nice to have more counter spells. We can pick up more mana. Plus we're like not even guaranteed to be 3 colors at the moment, though we are leaning towards it. Alright. What do we take here? Phyrexian Metamorph actually is good. Not that it's surprising, but like it lets you have more mana rocks while also being able to copy one of their better creatures. I don't think we need Breeding Pool at the moment. It doesn't help any of our fetches, and our only chance right now of splashing green is flashing back Ancient Grudge. Don't need any of these other cards. Sphinx's Rev, I find, is way too much mana when you can have other ways like Fact or Fiction to generate card advantage. Ral Zarek doesn't do enough to defend himself or affect anything. Yeah, I think we're just going to take Metamorph. Here, if it wasn't for this Rakdos Signet, I think we would take Phantasmal Image for the same reason as Metamorph. Yes, it's less good on the we can't make mana rocks out of it, but it does steal their best creature or let us rebuy things like Glen Elandra. But I think Rakdos Signet is just better. Also, Rakdos Signet specifically helps us splash our Collective Brutality and Young Pyromancer that we're looking at playing at the moment. Alright. What do we want here? Electrolyze is a good card. It also fills out our curve. Brainstorm. Honestly, I would rather have a Ponder or a Preordain, just due to the fact that Brainstorm, a lot of the power of Brainstorm revolves around having a lot of fetch lands, and at the moment we only have the one fetch land. So I think we're just going to take Electrolyze here. Alright. Now, what do we take here? Lotus Bloom, while it does look like Black Lotus, does kind of act like Black Lotus, not nearly as good as Black Lotus. Just due to the fact that you have to wait 3 turns. A lot of the interactions that make Black Lotus good aren't as good with Lotus Bloom. You can't Yawgmoth's Will Lotus Bloom back, things like that. I think we're just going to take Painful Truce, just have more card advantage, let us draw to our powerful cards like Glenalandra and Counterspell, and we're not giving up on much else. Careful Study, not needed. It's card disadvantage. Revoker, less good. Angel Serenity, way too hard to cast. Alright, now here, I'm thinking, I don't actually know how I feel about Temples in Cube. It's just so slow to play a tapped land. Granted, we don't have any 1-drops, so we're not giving up much there. But I do think Compulsive, just go with the plan of having a lot of card advantage, makes Compulsive slightly better. But now, actually, that I think about it, we might want the Fixing more. Yeah, we'll lean towards having Fixing. And I believe we will take Dak Fade in here. Tasker also good, but I think Dak edges him out slightly. Do I want Dark Confidant or Shadow Mage Infiltrator? This one's interesting. I think it might just be Shadow Mage. Just due to the fact that you can't die to Shadow Mage. But our curve is relatively low. Nah, I think we're just going to stick with Shadow Mage. Here we'll take an Izzet Charm. I think it's slightly better than Dualcaster Mage. Has the sort of negate ability. Lets us have removal. Also lets us select better cards if we need to. We'll take an Incinerate for the sideboard in case we need extra removal spells. Now that we have the deck mainly filled out, now we will be looking for a top end, maybe 1 or 2, 5 or 6 drops to finish the game with. Alternatively, something like Jace the Mind Sculptor or something along those lines. We might also want to think about getting some 1-drops in like Ponder or Lightning Bolt, things like that. I still don't feel bad about giving up on that Brainstorm because I think Brainstorm is slightly less good. Alright, what do we have here? Gilded Lotus. I do think Gilded Lotus is a good card. We don't have a ton of top end. That's my only reason to think about not taking it. And there's a Preordain. But in my experience, Gilded Lotus does let us do powerful things. But do we necessarily need that? I think I might just go with Preordain, try and keep my deck running smoothly, and we can pick up something else that actually wins us the game instead of just being a 5-drop that makes more mana. How many creatures? I only have 5 creatures, so I don't think I'm going to take Sword. Chandra does generate card advantage. Do I want to take Chandra? Or would I rather take something else? What else is there really? Top suffers from the same problems as Brainstorm and what was the other card? The one that I talked about earlier, in that without more fetch lands, top isn't as great. You don't get to shuffle away bad cards on the top of your deck, so you're looking at the same cards over and over again. Actually, I do think I'm going to take this Sword of Body and Mind. Ooh. There's our 6-drop win condition right there. Consecrated Sphinx. Just generates so much card advantage. Our opponents have to deal with it. It just does everything that we want. We're giving up on Karn, which is less good without a ton of mana ramp. Time Spiral, we don't really need it because we're not storming off. Orzhov Signet, less good because we'd only need the black mana, not the white. Temple of Epiphany, I think Consecrated Sphinx just edges it out on power level. Now, Hedron Archive, I could get behind playing that, especially now that we have a Consecrated Sphinx. And it can double as card advantage when need be. I could also see playing Venser or go for the Throat. I'm actually going to take Venser just because we're playing this Sword of Body and Mind. I like having creatures to equip that with. We might audible to playing Sword of Fire and Ice instead of Body and Mind just because it generates... Like, Body and Mind kills in 2 hits in Limited, hence the reason I call it Sword of Wins Limited. I guess it's 2 or 3 hits depending on how much card advantage they have. There's also Badlands, actually. I actually might take that to make our Arid Mesa better. We could also take Tamiyo. I don't think we need Tamiyo as much. Yeah, I think a Badlands is worth more than a sword. Here's our Lightning Bolt. I don't like Thirst for Knowledge when we're only running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artifacts. I think Bolt is just such a good card. What do we want here? There's Chandra Flamecaller. She's also another good 6-drop win condition. How many lands do we have? Do we need her though? Would I rather run a Fire Ice? No, I think we do want to. We want to have 2 or 3 win conditions that can just win extremely fast out of nowhere. I think we're going to take a Wandering Fumarole now. Adds to our mana lands and our color fixing. Tolarian Academy isn't great in the 6 artifact deck. And what do we take here? We can take Torch Fiend as another smash effect, though I think he's definitely the worst smash. Olivia is actually not bad. I think we would definitely play her in the sideboard, though. Yeah, we'll put Olivia on the sideboard. Bring her in against the, like, a white-based X1 style deck where we can just ping their team down. Or like a big green deck where we can hopefully generate enough mana and just start stealing their team. Things like that. Sure, we'll put Trinket Mage on the sideboard. Do we play Temple of Epiphany? Yeah, I think we do. Sure, we'll take Quicken. Don't really need it, but sure. We can take Ophiomancer to play in the sideboard as just a blocker against aggressive decks, and then now we're getting down to the cards that don't matter. Alright, mana base time. Darn it. Yeah, lands mixed with our lands that we don't care about. Alright. Sort by color. Now. Alright, things to think about. A full 1, 2, 3, 4 of our lands enter tapped. I don't think that's the end of the world, considering we're a more controlling deck that also doesn't have a ton of 1-drops. And we have things like Signets and Moxen to catch us up. We're going to play Mox Sapphire as counting as a land, but not Mox Diamond, since Diamond needs a land to do anything. So currently we need 9 basics. Alright, so islands, blue sources, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 blue sources, black, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 black, red, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus we have, alright, I think we're gonna change that and call that a deck. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, well, I will see you in round 1 of our cube draft.